helicopter in your town, or maybe there was a helicopter in Massachusetts. We have 3 or 4 regions that have helicopter service for trauma patients. Boston has a couple, in Bedford. Worcester has the UMass helicopters. Bay State has a helicopter, and Pittsfield has a helicopter. So anywhere along those, in those larger areas, can have a helicopter service. So in the 70s, the trauma care was said, okay, the golden hour, into the OR by within 60 minutes of your injuries. Then we got a little bit more technically savvy about what was happening with traumatic brain injuries. A lot of folks, before the helicopters came along and before the trauma centers were invented, the trauma centers really grew from the Korean War, where they had the whole crew right there in the hospital all the time, and I'm going to switch to that. People were available in house, and so to be defined and to be considered to be a trauma center, you had to have your neurosurgeon in-house. You had to have your neuroradiologist in the house. Now, are you still hearing me now? Just nod. It switched to a different speaker, and so I'll get back to it. You had to have people that were there all the time, 24 hours. So if someone says it's a trauma center, then you know those folks are in-house and are ready to take you to the operating room. So people started surviving head injuries more and brain injuries more than they did in the 60s and 70s. So again, our technologies improved, the pre-hospital care, the paramedics were trained differently, and things generally were a little bit more crackerjack. And we learned that from more advances that were made in the military, from battlefield injuries, from survivors and non-survivors as well. So again, this is sort of a history of what you're doing. This is the history of the Certified Brain Injury Specialist. Initially, it was the National Head Injury Foundation back in the 80s, and then that evolved into the Brain Injury Association of America, BIAA, and they're down in Virginia, right in the DC area. And so eventually, it has transitioned to the certification that you'll have. And it includes the local association, who was helpful to a point in this class. Back in September, they were helpful. And then they wanted to change it till, remember, the week before Thanksgiving, and then they wanted to change it to after Christmas. And here we are. And then it became too close to their spring training, and we lost them. And part of the coronavirus issue as well. But so the Brain Injury Association provides resources. I don't know if you've ever been over to it. It's here in Westboro, believe it or not. You'd think they'd be over here hanging out or having lunch or schmoozing with us a little bit more than they do. It's in the building that the massage parlor is in, and so you can go in there. It's on the 2nd floor, near the Tatnick bookseller. So that's where we're talking about, 2nd floor, and they have there's a lot of people that work there. It's a fairly large staff, and they have a lot of educational materials. A lot of the programmatic materials are there. They have a group that meets once a month or twice a month that's right in that facility for people with brain injury, and they have a family group as well that meets there. They also sponsor other groups. Right now they're not open. Everything is being done via Zoom technology, and so we're kind of shit out of luck when it comes to the Brain Injury Association. They are funded by the state, and as always, they could use more funding, and so they're really a part-time agency now, or part-time organization now. And it used to be that you could call and someone would answer. Now you call, you leave a message, and within a day or two someone will respond, and then they'll put you through to the education specialist or the other parts of their organization. And right now the person that leads it lives in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and they have an office out there in Pittsfield. So That's our Brain Injury Association of Massachusetts. So the TBI Act of 1996 was probably the most important kind of umbrella, overriding authority that's come down. It identified folks, really made the transition from head injury to brain injury, identified the longitudinal likelihood of severe symptoms down the road, and set the stage for the need for research and surveillance of people with traumatic brain injuries. And it helped expand not only provide primary prevention, but secondary prevention as well. So primary prevention is, you teach kids to how to avoid bumping their heads, and the secondary prevention is to limit the duration of time that someone's going to have an illness and provide for improved services down the road. So prevention, research, and then the services down the road are really the keys that came with this TBI Act of 1996. And it will probably show up on one of your tests as well. Again, there's a couple of the core key laws that come up that they do ask about. The 1973 Disability Act, and the 1997 that we just went through. There's 96. So, okay, state grants. The federal government does provide some money. I wouldn't say it's a lot of money, and to help states with their infrastructure. Again, we're talking about the continuum of care. A lot of it goes to trauma centers and people that are free care. A lot of it goes to people that have traumatic injuries, brain injuries, and others that have no insurance. So it's the underinsured that this goes to. There is some that improves community support. There's some that goes to our state agency and a broader service delivery system. And there are some that provide grants for like training programs. In the police department, they get helmets. They get 100 bicycle helmets for their prevention programs, their traumatic brain injury prevention programs. And so